Pye and Smith production. It is day 2 of the World Championship darts, and we're going to do a quick review video of the 4 games that took place last night on day 1. And there is 8 games taking place today, 4 in the afternoon and 4 in the evening. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you straight over to the main man, Matt Pieman Hill.
Cheers, Adam. Good to be here. I'm hopeful that we'll get a few of these videos out to you in the coming days and weeks, but it will be largely dictated by the Christmas schedule. But can I just say it's really nice. We've had some really nice comments and feedback on the videos, and big shout to Shane who hooked us up with a lot of data and statistics driven.
Yeah, really good. Yeah,
he'd scrapped himself off odds checker and whatnot, but it made some really interesting reading, including a fourth quarter anomaly where no one from the fourth quarter has lifted the title in the last 10 years. So not a good omen for Gerwyn Price.
Well, that's ideal for the two main fancies. Basically, the 2 people I've only backed to win the thing. Jose De Souza, Gerwyn Price, both drawn in quarter 4, and our new friend Shane has told us that we've got absolutely no chance. No, he's not, but he's highlighted an anomaly in the stats.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, very interesting reading, and much appreciated. So just nice to see that the videos are getting out to people who find them at least somewhat interesting. Right, well, we'll crack on with last night. Obviously, started off with 4 games. We did have a 3-0, one of the 3-0s put up in the big preview last night, and it landed. Great start to
flying.
To affairs. Yeah, put up at evens, went off 4-7, moving markets as well. Steve West 3, Amit Gilitwala 0. This game pretty much went to script, to be honest. A 24 dart leg from Steve West to open up the World Championships, giving everyone a bit of hope for qualifying next year. But that was kind of a theme of the night, to be honest. A lot of slow starting, a lot of poor first sets. It was poor from both players. He took it with an 83 average last night, the first set. But there's not a lot to say about this game, really. West won 9 of the 10 legs. Occasional flashes of quality, 4 180s, a double-double finish for the fans, the 1,000 fans that we had in and won't be having in again by the looks of it, unfortunately. Gilitwala looked understandably nervous. At least he won a leg. And he'll be miles better for an experience like that. Hopefully we see him again in the future. And some interesting comments on the game in India. He actually said that he thought that such was the growth of darts in India in the last couple of years, they could have a world champion in the next 10 years. Judging on last night's performance, maybe add a 0 to that 10, but it does sound like the game is growing at an encouraging rate. So fair play to him for qualifying, did himself a fair justice, I think. We then had a bit of an upset in game 2, and an upset that not many people wanted to see. Steve Beaton 0, Diogo Porteo 3. It was all built up for the Bronze Adonis. They did a really nice montage on his 30 years of the World Championships and all that. And then obviously he didn't turn up. Did say in our big preview that Steve is having more off days this year than on days, and this proved to be the case again. Again, scrappy first set. Porteo took his chances, and then they both started to raise their game, but you always felt like Diogo was just raising his game a little bit more than Steve. Perfect example being by the 3rd set, Steve had managed to ramp his average up to about 95, but Diogo was averaging 98, 99 by this point. It was a solid performance from the Brazilian, to be honest. Had an emotional interview after the match where he basically said that he's had the worst year of his life with lockdown. He's lost a few friends. I think he said he's lost his mum as well. And he's been getting counselling from the PDPA, which fair play to them. They've sorted all that out. And he was saying that he was planning to quit darts, and obviously won last night. So nice story, likeable guy, and he'll play Glendorant today. So I think is it Glendorant or is it Chris Darby? Well, we're coming on to the matches. It is Glenn. More on that in a minute, I suppose. 3rd game of the night was Jeff Smith, Keane Barry. We signalled this out as one of the matches to watch in the first round, and it was a good game, to be honest. Again, slow starting, and again, it was to the detriment of Keane Barry. He went 2 sets down. Had chances in both of those sets. I think he was 3 out of 20 on the doubles in the first 2 sets. That's just nowhere near good enough. Took the 3rd set to half arrears with 100 average, showed what he can do. And Jeff Smith actually said after the game, if he didn't put him away in the 4th set, he feels he would have lost the match because the momentum had swung. Smith took out a check out of 80 and then a check out of 82 in that 4th set, and they were really pivotal checkouts. And both looked in reasonable nick. Barry will be able to come again and again and again. He's young and improving, but really good win for Jeff Smith, and he's in action again today against Chris Darby in a very interesting round 2 affair. Last night, the last match of the night was our first seed, reigning world champion Peter Wright came out in his Grinch costume, which is obviously grabbed the headlines, obviously. But yeah, in terms of performance, this was relatively comfortable, if not the most impressive performance from Peter Wright. Steve West, after showing like he was in, he said after his first game against Amit Gilitwala that he felt like his game was in a good place and he just wanted to keep that going into the Peter Wright match. Well, he didn't do that. His first 2 sets, he was really off the boil. Annoying thing with Steve West, when things aren't going his way, he tends to chuck the darts away. He wastes a lot of darts. He beats himself up, and we saw this in abundance in this game, unfortunately. He came out after the break and hit 180, 180, and reeled off the 3rd set, got it effectively back on throw, but then missed key doubles in that 4th set, allowing Peter Wright to sneak through. All in all, never really too troubled Peter Wright, but you do wonder if that had gone to a 5th set, whether the momentum shift, we could have seen that upset there. Steve West, he kind of beat himself in that game, and while Snake will be pleased to be through, nothing to get too carried away. I think he's changed his equipment again. Wayne Mardle said he's trialled over 400 sets of darts preparing for this World Championship. He showed the best and the worst of himself last night, Peter Wright. And yeah, he's a conundrum that is hard to fathom.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. He was 2-0 up and, like you say, looked to be going comfortable. Then West got back into the game and he was wobbling a bit. Then Snake and put in some terrible couple of legs, but then, like you say, it's so like hot and cold with him, and in such a short period of time, he could literally from set to set or even leg to leg, he can be on or off. It's like you say, it is going to be a conundrum and an ongoing one.
I think he averaged 102 in the first set and 85 in the second set,
Absolutely,
and that backs up everything we've been saying about Peter Wright during this preview. If he has too many of them dips, we know that he could be knocked out at any time. It's very hard to be comfortable being with Peter Wright.
Yep. So there is 6 first round games today and 2 second round games. We've covered every single first round game, or Mr. Pyman did, covered every single first round game. So we're not going to go in depth on all of them, and we're just going to tip our hat towards today's action. So like I say, 8 games in total, 4 in the afternoon, starting around 12 o'clock on Sky Sports, and then this evening starts around 6 o'clock. The second round games, the 2 second round games, take place at the end of each session. So there's one at the end of the afternoon session, which is Chris Darby against Jeff Smith who won last night. And then at the end of the evening session, it's the seed in that game is Glendorant, who we covered in our previews, against Porteo. That's the final game of this evening. So what takes your eye today, Pyman?
Well, I think of the afternoon session, we have to touch on Joyce and Sedlacek. Obviously, all these games have been covered in depth in our previous videos. So if you haven't seen them for any reason and you want to get a bit more information, get on the channel and have a little look at them. We've done it quarter by quarter, so you should be able to sort of pull the schedule up and work out where the relevant game is. Joyce Sedlacek is a game that we flagged up as possibly one for an upset. No surprise to see a bit of money coming for Sedlacek.
2-1 when we spoke about it. Now he's best price 13-8, Sedlacek.
Yeah, it was very well identified. It's not to say that he'll turn Joyce over. It's a tough draw, but he's certainly capable of going with Joyce. That's definitely one to watch. Well, we won't touch on all of them, but Ross Smith, David Evans looks like a tight game. O'Connor Zonneveld, again, it'll be all about whether the Dutchman can raise his level, because Willie O'Connor generally is proven as a good player in the first round of Ali Pali, And then the last game of the afternoon, Chris Darby versus Jeff Smith. I think this is a really interesting game. Obviously, Jeff Smith had that experience on the stage yesterday, played solid enough. Chris Darby, few question marks over him. It's a tight game. I think Jeff Smith will probably get a little bit of late market support, and I think this could go 5 sets. It's
a momentum game, like you say. Jeff Smith out last night, tough game. It was a tough game for the opener against an inexperienced player, but like you say, he had to dig in. He's got the kind of momentum from last night, the experience. It's going to be less than 24 hours later. He's already got a win on the board at the World Championships this year. And Chris Darby, as we identified, hasn't been firing all that much this year. It's 4-6 Darby and about 11-8 Smith, if anyone's interested in having a bet on that one. So that would definitely be interesting. And then into the evening session, Max Hopp against Gordon Mathers. I think this game's included on the Pieman 3-0 roll-up. Is that correct?
Certainly is. Max Hopp, not someone that I've got huge confidence in himself, but I feel like he's got an ideal first-round game against Mathers. Hopefully, he can. He's very much a confidence player, Hopp, and this looks like a game where he could build his confidence. So hoping for the 3-0. We've actually got a second 3-0 straight after that, one on the roller. Callan Ridds, one of many sort of outside players that we've given a bit of a build-up to. He faces James Bailey. Very winnable tie, and again, I think he could do it quite comfortably. Certainly hope he can. Adam Hunt versus Lisa Ashton is our third game of the evening session. Lisa probably could have done with the crowd that we had in last night, to be honest. Normally a major factor in the female versus male games. But she can make a good fist of this game, I think. It's the biggest game of her year, remember. And, she'd be desperate to get that first big performance at the Worlds and replicate what Fallon Sherrick did last year. Adam Hunt did lose 5 of his 6 matches when we last saw him on the home tour a couple of weeks ago. So potentially vulnerable. I think that, Lisa can make a game of it. The final game of the night is Glendorant versus Diogo Porteo. Again, this is all about Duzza, really. How will he play? We know he's had his issues with recovering from COVID. If Porteo could do what he did last night and turn in a 98, low 90s average, it asks a question of Glendorant. It says, are you at your best? Are you able to polish this off? If it gets into the realms of 1-1, 2-2, then again, the momentum that Porteo has already generated from last night could make it, could give him a slight edge. I feel like Duzza probably has to turn up about 7 out of 10 to get this game won. Anything less, I think he'll be in trouble.
From a Durant point of view, and we do genuinely wish him well. I think he's a really likeable character, Durant, and he's had a tough couple of months with it, with the COVID and the aftermath of that. I think this is an ideal match for Durant, to be honest. He's 2-11 to win the game. He could have had a tougher first game at the World Championships, to be fair. He does need to bed himself in. His form has been poor of late, and we know why. He's had a 2 or 3 weeks break, and hopefully he's been home. He's coming back here fresh, and I do genuinely hope that Durant can go well. And like I say, he is the shortest price of the whole day, to be honest, at 2-11. So, just to conclude, really. The Pieman 3-0 six-fold or trebles and upwards that we put up on our conclusion video, if you like. So the first leg is in. Steve West beat Gillett Waller 3-0. So the first leg's in. That was even money. The second and third leg both go today. That's Max Hopp to beat Gordon Mathers 3-0 and Callan Ridds to beat James Bailey 3-0. So that's what Pieman's on today. I'm already on Sedlacek at 2-1 to beat Joyce. And like we say, there's been a little bit of money for that. And I would just starting today as a fresh, if you like. I would be half interested in Jeff Smith around the 11-8 mark as well today, if I had to, select one bet just for today. So that would be one of interest as well. So if you've got any fancies, let us know in the comments, and best of luck to everyone. Anything from you in conclusion, Pieman?
Not really. Just one thing to keep an eye on. Obviously, we're still at a very early stage, but I've noticed that a lot of players are making extremely slow starts. 7 of the 8 players last night averaged 83 or less in their opening set. Now, you could say that's the standard of the player. Obviously, Peter Wright being the exception, knocked in a ton average in his first set, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Acclimatising to new conditions, the Ali Pali, we've had issues in the past with it where there's been breezes, there's been the wrong temperature, there's been all sorts. I'm keeping an eye on that, to be honest, and that would potentially give an advantage to the likes of Porteo and Jeff Smith, who have already played on the stage, and it may just, they might be worth a look to nick the first set against their respective seeds. I think Porteo can push Durant a little bit more than expected, but we'll see. Looking forward to another day of action.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and we'll be back later in the week. There's afternoon and evening sessions between now and I think Monday, so there's plenty of action to be going at, and we'll certainly be reporting back to you soon. Thank you.
Cheers.